Arguing according to the rules of logic is not very easy. But one thing that is easy is falling victim to something that looks like it follows the rules of logic. A logical fallacy is a way to reason according to bad rules. It allows us to make bad inferences. Inferences still, but using poor reasoning. Reasoning still, but ways that we don't want to argue. Here's this rule that you could break and make it seem like you're offering good reasons and a good argument, but you're not. So the rule says don't treat stereotypes as if they apply to every individual. So stereotypes are things that are generally true or likely true, normally true, but that doesn't mean that you can infer that it is true in this specific individual instance. So let's look at what the fallacy of division is. Well, the fallacy of division is breaking this rule that says not to argue from a general rule to a specification. The fallacy of division tells us that this is a bad argument because it's using poor reasoning. It's still convincing, but you shouldn't argue this way. So we have this general rule that Persians love gold. Now you can take a poll, take every Persian person that you know and ask them, do you love gold? 90% of them might say that they do love gold. But that doesn't mean that Tala Rose, who is Persian, loves gold. It's fallacious reasoning to think that this general rule applies to every individual. It's a logical fallacy to argue from a generalization to a specification. It's also a logical fallacy to do the opposite, to argue from a specification to a generalization. So the hasty generalization is when you jump to a conclusion, which is a general rule, from something really specific. And the opposite is when you jump to something specific from a general rule. And we can look at those two and see that they are the opposite kinds of mistakes in reasoning. The hasty generalization takes a bunch of Persian people that you know who love gold and says, okay, well, if Sahar, Sohail, Yassi, and Amir are all gold lovers and they're all Persian, maybe all Persians love gold. So you're drawing this general conclusion from these specific instances. And the opposite is true when you do the fallacy of division. You take these general rule like all Persians love gold, and then when you find a specific individual like Tala Rose, you say, oh, well, she's Persian, then she must love gold. But you should not draw that specific conclusion from the general rule, because to do that is acting like your stereotype literally fits every instance.